First off, I just wanted to address some things specifically in regards to the Hatsan Flashpup in 177 caliber with the walnut stock. I've got both up here, my 25 caliber with the synthetic stock and the 177 caliber with the walnut stock. But as far as the videos I've done so far on the 177 caliber, there have been some things I've been very critical on, and some things I don't think I should have been as critical as I may have been. But looking back on how everything transpired, things in my mind have changed a little bit. Number one, biggest thing after receiving the gun, it came with the wrong magazines and the wrong single shot tray for the 177 caliber. The magazines and the shot tray that came with it were for a 25 caliber. Now it just coincidentally turned out I already owned a Flashpup in 25 caliber. 3 days it took with a phone call to Pyramid Air and a customer service request filled out online to Hatsan USA. Within 3 days, I had the correct magazines, 2 magazines, and the correct single shot tray. So basically what I ended up with was waiting 3 days after receiving the 177 caliber gun, having the correct magazines, the correct single shot tray in 177 caliber, and now I have 4 magazines and 2 single shot trays for my 25 caliber at no cost to me whatsoever because of Hatsan's screw up of what they sent out with the 177 caliber and the willingness to make things right by both Pyramid Air and Hatsan USA. So that actually turned out to be a plus for me. The next thing I wanted to address was the work I did on the bolt hammer assembly. That was strictly a personal choice. They were perfectly functional as they came out of the box. As a matter of fact, I was pleasantly surprised after disassembling the bolt hammer assembly that there wasn't any metal chips or anything like that in the assembly. They both were lubed up very sufficiently by Hatsan with whatever it is that Hatsan uses for their lubrication of their parts, but wanting to try to make the action smoother was 100% my personal choice. There was nothing wrong with the gun as it was, out of the box, as far as the operation of the bolt or the hammer. The gun out of the box had a hammer spring that wasn't set up correctly. The gun was firing at 600 feet per second and is rated by Hatsan to shoot at 1,150 feet per second. Instead of taking the time to call Pyramid Air, set up a return shipping label at no cost to me, get in my car and head out to whomever the shipper is facilitated through with their shipping process and dropping off the gun there and then waiting for them to receive the gun and send out a replacement at that point, I decided it was much better and more efficient for me to look into the problem myself. Was it something as easy as the hammer spring not being adjusted correctly? And that's what the problem turned out to be. And getting it adjusted correctly was very simple for me to take care of. Should it have come out of the box with the correct magazines and single shot tray and have been set up correctly to fire at the published velocity that Hatsan puts out? 100% yes, it should have been. But again, what was the best, most efficient way for those things to be dealt with? And I dealt with them in what I thought was the best, most efficient way to deal with those things. So really, the biggest negative that I have that came from that 177 caliber was the fact that the barrel droop was enough that a pretty decent scope with pretty decent adjustability could not be set up to shoot on target. But again, what was the best case scenario? The most efficient way of dealing with that? What I ended up doing, as you saw in the last video, remove some material from the front mounting location on the scope rail, or as I just described the process of returning the gun and waiting for a new gun to be sent to me. So all in all, do I have complaints about how the gun came out of the box? Yes, I do. Do I have complaints about how I went about taking care of those issues? Really, I don't. Big shout out, big thanks to both Pyramid and Hatsan USA for doing their part in taking care of the magazine / single shot tray situation. Other than that, we'll take it from this point on. I want to focus on the positives of the gun at this point. I think I've been pretty clear about the negatives and pretty honest about them. So now that I've discussed some opinions I've had on the Hatsan Flashpup in 177 caliber, some things that have gone wrong with the overall purchase process of the gun itself and how I've dealt with it, I do want to compare the two. Having done enough shooting, in my opinion, with the 177 caliber flash walnut stock and the 25 caliber flash pup with the synthetic stock, there are significant differences that go beyond just the stock material. One of the features that I find really nice that I don't understand why they weren't incorporated into the wood stock are these Picatinny rails on the front sides of the synthetic stock version. You get the one on the bottom for what most typically would be used for a bipod, but you get these two also on the side, and I've been able to incorporate a sling attachment with one of those side Picatinny rails. What I had been doing is removing the bipod and using a sling attachment from below. But now I don't have to do that every time. I can leave the bipod on for whatever reason that comes up that I would want to keep it on, and use the sling at the same time. The wooden version only has the Picatinny rail on the bottom. It doesn't have it on the sides, which doesn't make sense to me. Pre-drill a couple more holes and use some wood screws to attach two short Picatinny rails on both sides of it. You know, why Hot Sod doesn't do that, I don't know. It would really be a nice extra feature. Whether or not it should affect the cost of the gun, I'm going to get into that when I get to talking about the cost of the gun. The other significant difference is in the cocking mechanism, the side lever action that comes on the synthetic version versus the bolt action that comes on the wood version. The synthetic Flashpup with the side lever, significantly better, easier, smoother, just overall a much more pleasurable shooting experience having that smooth side lever action versus the bolt. The ease of cocking the gun with a lever that goes way out, creating a increased leverage to get that hammer cocked. And if you're going for power and you've adjusted, like me, you've adjusted your power level up, and that really trying to overcome that spring tension on that hammer, the bolt relative to the side lever is just way more difficult to cock. What I'm finding with the wood version, with the bolt lever, is I'm pressing my thumb against the back of the cheek weld piece in order to draw back that bolt. It doesn't stick out very far, and simply grabbing the bolt and pulling it back without using that pressure with my thumb is kind of a pain in the butt. Cocking the synthetic version, there is no issues whatsoever. I don't have to press my thumb against anything to do it. It's just so much easier. And why that hasn't been incorporated into the Woodstock version, I really wonder why. It's a huge improvement. Something I really like significantly more with the synthetic version than the wood version. Those are the two main things, other than the stock material. Okay, so obviously you have difference in stock material, and personal preference comes into play as far as synthetic versus wood. 2 extra Picatinny rails on the synthetic version versus the 1 on the wood, and a side lever cocking action on the synthetic version versus a bolt on the wood. Now let's talk about price. The base retail price of a Flashpup with the walnut stock is $399.99. The base retail price of the synthetic stock version, at least what I've found on numerous online retailers, is $379.99. So for $20 cheaper, you get those 2 extra Picatinny rails, you get a side lever cocking mechanism that is way smoother than the wood version. The other thing that is different, simply in shape, are the air tubes. The air cylinder on the synthetic version is shorter and wider than the air tube on the wood version. They both hold the same amount of air. The capability of holding air is the same between the two, but what I'm trying to get at is it because of that difference in the size of the tubes, you simply can't detach the upper portion of the synthetic version and drop it into the wooden stock. That would be really nice if Hatsan were to incorporate their production manufacturing to give you the same features you get with the synthetic version with the wooden version. I'd be willing to pay even more. Add on another $20 to the wood version if it came with the two side Picatinny rails, the side lever action, and they were completely interchangeable. I think what you would find if you made these interchangeable is you would have a lot of people purchasing Flashpups like I have, more than one Flashpup, probably in different calibers, but doing it specifically for just how do I feel on a given day of shooting. Today I prefer to use the wooden stock, and I could take interchange, but I want to shoot a certain caliber, but use it in a wooden stock, or the 177 cal used in the synthetic stock. If those were in, identical as far as how they fit in the stock, where I could just remove two screws, pick it up, and swap out one stock for the other. Another suggestion would be not only to do that, but then sell just the stocks, not an entire gun, where it was a drop-in process from one to the other. I think that would be a great feature. So that was one of the things I definitely wanted to go over and point out, as well as just my overall opinions of how I personally have dealt with inconveniences that have come with the Hatsan Flashpup with the walnut stock and 177 caliber. Guys, stay safe, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the next one.